Hi, I am Pr0tal. I primarily speedran the Talos Principle 2, and when I heard they were making a remaster of the original and its DLC and Talos 2's engine, I had to jump at the opportunity. So I'm very excited. I've been playing it, having a lot of fun. I'm very excited to be playing it here at SGDQ. Commentators, if you want to.
Sure. Hi, I'm Gelly. I'm primarily a Talos runner. I did a lot of Talos 2 running as well, and I've done a decent amount of Reawakened. And Bobby?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm BobbyBurm. I primarily speedran Talos 2 of the series. I've been playing the games for years, and it's just a fantastic series. I'm so excited we can run back another Talos game right so quickly after Talos 2. So very, very exciting.
Yeah, so time will start when he skips his cutscene. So a 3, a 2, a 1, a go.
Good luck.
So, to explain all campaigns no FF, in the Reawakened remaster, they've added 3 different campaigns that exist. There's the main Talos, there's going to be Road to Gehenna, and then there's ITB in the beginning. We'll be going through each of those in any % minimum glitches, no major glitches sort of capacity. And no FF, there's an inbuilt mechanic called Fast Forward, where you're able to fast forward your progress. It's primarily for recorder puzzles, but it makes the game run at 2 times speed. It's not really something that we're super interested in. We'll save it for the FF run for Roller Coaster Tycoon later on in the marathon to see it. From here, you may be noticing that he's navigating his way on the walls here, doing a bunch of parkour. This is not how the game is meant to be played, surprisingly. As a puzzle game, you're supposed to be utilizing the different items in order to open barriers and be able to collect all of these sigils. But due to the engine being the way that it is, we're able to navigate our way under the walls and so on and so forth. So for example, the original Talos, you're normally supposed to collect a bunch of sigils. I think it's up to 86. And you're supposed to be able to unlock a door at the very end, and you get this eternalized ending. We'll just be collecting 4 sigils instead. You may also be noticing, as I've been doing explanations here, that he's been able to collect a sigil, wait a little bit, and then make his way back up on the wall. Bobby, what is that?
Yeah, so we have a new rewind mechanic in this game where, functionally you can get stuck in a puzzle game. So let's say you lock yourself out of a puzzle or you do a mistake. This is kind of the game's way to let you go back in time to say, okay, here you go. You can go fix like from 5 seconds ago, right? We take advantage of that in this game in order to go back X amount of time. The game recognizes that, okay, you have a sigil. That should be a permanent upgrade, right? So you should have these once you finish a level. And then going back, we use that a lot throughout this run to go back, get an item that we had previously, and then use it for an upcoming level here.
And we're about to end the run here. So he's hopped on the side of the elevator here. When re-importing assets, they basically kept the position of everything, but they remastered the assets that they're using, including collision on the edge of the elevator here. You're not able to jump while you're inside the elevator, but you are able to, say, if you're on the edge of this elevator here while it's going down, walk into the corner while a particular piece of collision is passing, and that'll allow you to jump up here.
And we're out, baby.
We're going to go past A, and then we're going to go past B here, and then we're going to go past C, and now we're going to hit the Eternalize ending trigger from the back. Normally, the doors would open once you collect all of the sigils, and we're about to end the game here. So there we go. That's awesome.
Great. 2 minutes in.
This is a faster any % than existed in the original game, so that's awesome. We're popping off here. We're actually playing the game in Chinese because the terminals are dependent on, 1 character per iota of time. So the less characters you can get, the better. So we're going to be playing in traditional Chinese just for the express purposes of these terminals here. That's any % done. So there we go, first campaign. Now we're moving on to Road to Gehenna. Road to Gehenna is a DLC that came out about a year after the game originally came out in 2015. It primarily centers around this crew of maligned characters, these goofy robots that we have to save from themselves. They're currently in Hell or Gehenna, and we have to, as Uriel, save them from being cringe and writing fan fiction or whatever. You can read the lore as you see fit. We'll be navigating through, if you might recall, we were navigating through A1, which was the level that we were previously, and then we'll be making our way to the Gehenna section of the game. It's split up into 4 different worlds, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll be starting with 2 because that's closest to us, but also it contains 5 robots. We need to be freeing 17 of the robots before we can access the terminal that allows us to end the game. So we'll need to collect those 17 robots. Unlike in the Talos, where you only had to collect so many sigils before collecting a trigger, we actually do need to collect all these robots. But rest assured, there are no puzzles to be solved here, so no spoilers. Don't worry about that.
God forbid we have puzzles in a puzzle game.
So this is going to be World 2, maybe the most intensive of the worlds in terms of execution. So we'll be starting with Cube Driver here. There's a kind of precise jump that if he messes it up, it'll be another 30-second time loss. Not 30 seconds there. he landed on the correct side of the fence here, but if he makes it on top, very good.
Very
All
nice.
right, very difficult. There's a precise amount of velocity that you have to get in order to pop over the fence without popping too far and landing on the fence on the other side. From there, he's just going to simply scale onto the rocks over here and make his way on the sand over to haircut, which is, again, this one's relatively simple. He just needs to jump in here over some particularly slidey rocks, and then he'll be able to do the rest of the levels here. In anticipation of the next level that we'll be completing, which is Bunny Hop, you may notice that when he's accessing these cubes, little footprints are going to appear. Those are called guided jumps. The game gives you these guided jumps in order to avoid there being any skill-based component to doing some of these jumps, but we do want to use skill, so we have the ability to suppress guided jumps. So that jump in particular, definitely not supposed to be able to do that. The puzzle's supposed to be a lot more intensive than that. But normally the game gives you a guided jump that basically sticks you to the floor no matter where you jump from. But as a new addition to this game, you have the ability to suppress your guided jumps with a particular keybind. So there's going to be many instances that I'm going to attempt to call out as he's using cubes where he doesn't want to get the guided jump. He has to use the skillful curved jump in order to do what he's looking to do. Finally, we'll be taking the fan over to Crater here. Crater is an incredibly difficult level. Just kidding, Lamau. We'll just pop into here.
Great. Well, can I pop in with a quick donation?
Absolutely.
I love that. We've got $20 from Bush that says, just a simple good luck for me. Have fun, P0tal, and everyone.
Awesome.
Thank you, Bush.
We actually have time for maybe 1 or 2 more donations as we're running between levels here.
Fantastic. You got time, like right now?
Right now, yeah.
Right now,
Take
right
it.
now. We've got $50 from Equinox that says, big thanks to P0tal, Gelly, and Bobby, who got me into the awesome Talos speedrunning community from their run last year. Sad I couldn't be there with you guys today, but so hyped to see it. Best of luck for the run.
Thanks, Equinox.
Thank you, Equinox.
Man, Equinox is from Malta. Shoutouts to Malta. We'll be moving through World 3 here. World 3 has some more interesting mechanics in terms of the actual execution they have to do. For example, up here, he's going to be placing a jammer, and then he's going to grab it from the other side. Bobby, what is this jammer sneak?
Yeah, so normally, we've been going out in and outside of levels many times in this, but sometimes we're going to manipulate items in between levels, and so there is a way that we can jammer sneak in between gates, and so through, with that little gap in between, the gate, the game will check to see, is there a wall or a boundary in between myself and the item to grab it, and so basically right in that little sliver, it says, no, there isn't, and so you're able to grab that item through the gate.
Correct. And then from there, you may have just seen, we'll point it out in more detail when it comes up again. He was able to climb a ladder while holding an item. Frame perfect trick. That's the reason that he's playing at 80 FPS. He needs to have high enough FPS in order to do jumps, such as the one in Bunny Hop that we looked at previously, but he needs to have low enough FPS to be able to pull off frame perfect tricks there. This is going to be some incredibly tight parkour here in Ray Trivia. Even though he has rewind that allows him to go back 4 seconds, every time that he messes up, it costs 4 seconds. It looks like he's getting it first try. I don't even need to talk about how difficult that is.
Fantastic.
No, it's good. It's good. This next level gets no love from me, though, because this is, if you make it there.
Yeah.
We'll be going to BFF here. An interesting thing to note, I mentioned before that the way that they imported the assets is they basically took a 1-to-1 for each of the positions, and then they placed a new version of it. So these rocks are slightly higher here because the collision has been made in such a way where you can just make it over that wall. In the original game, that was available to us, but it was so precise that it was only used in a segmented capability that we did a segmented run back in 2021 or something along those lines. So as we're making our way to our next level, another donation from Jaidlyn, if you would.
I would love to give you this $500 from Weirdaholic.
Thank you so much.
It says, hello, my child. It is I, Elohim. Since words don't stop you from trying to escape, how about a small bribe? Hi, Weird here. I hear tax refunds are a great source for donations, so let me drop a small love bomb for MSF. Thank you for your work. It's more needed than ever. Let's transcend the simulation.
Nice.
Less than 3.
Also, donation matching with your employer. That's a big True.
Free money. So now we're going to be moving on to Press and Jam. This is the most difficult of the levels that we're going to be working with here because this jump being possible is incredibly tight. First, he has to navigate past all of these walls with very thin, almost no run up here, and then this jump is incredibly difficult. He's got a second try on
very
this
tough.
one.
It's super tight.
Thankfully, he's got rewind here.
Nice.
Second try.
Wow.
Second try.
That is very, you have to jump off. It's almost like a mini coyote time. You have to just barely get on the edge of that and get to that, get across. It's very tough.
While he does this puzzle, which is just going to involve the guided jump here, the mechanics in this game in terms of parkour are so vastly worse in terms of parkour, in terms of more skill intensive than compared to Talos 1. Whereas with Talos 1, you had literally coyote time. You literally would have the ability to be able to jump off of walls. In some instances in this game, if you get a slight increase in elevation, you like stub your toe, you will actually get your jump completely killed and you won't be able to act upon that. So he's having to navigate some of these walls in very strange looking ways just to avoid the fact that if he jumps at a particularly wrong time, instead of getting an additional jump like you might in Talos 1, you get no jump in the Reawakened version. That's air delivery, relatively simple there. And then from here, we're going to use a little bit of interesting Easter egg tech. You actually get a little bit of a slide here because in the original game, the physics gave you sliding when you would land after a fan, whereas in the new game, you would get stopped on the dot. And there's an Easter egg, there's a little island that exists off to the side where you would only be able to access that if you have that sort of sliding capability. So they re-added it in just to be able to access that Easter egg, and much like anything else in Gehenna, we're going to weaponize Easter eggs as much as we can.
Big fan of that.
You want to keep talking?
No.
Okay. Then let's get a donation from Jaidlyn.
I'd love to give you a donation like this $100 from Lilch that says, hey, Pro0tal, saw your Talos principal run last year and fell in love. Here's a bit from all of us watching online together. Hope the run goes well. I did also really quickly want to mention that we have a new bid war open, the glasses or mustaches bid war for Plants versus Zombies.
Ooh.
Love to see which one would win that. And as another brief update, our upgrade to invisible and enemies and bosses, $2,390 towards that 30,000. We are making so much progress. Thank you so much, everyone.
And so Pr0tal just grabbed, thank you, Jaidlyn. We just grabbed a bit of a leprechaun piece. Gelly, what does that mean?
Yeah, so there's an Easter egg in this game where you can assemble a leprechaun statue in order to cause a jig to happen amongst all of the robots at the very end. However, these pieces have no gravity. You can place them wherever and they'll just stay there. But they have enough collision in order to literally get guided jumps off of them for whatever reason. So we end up using that in many instances here to place the piece past a purple, for example, and then to also utilize it in order to get on top of the walls because there's no easier way to do that. An interesting thing to note, as we enter open field, this will just be a connector thing here. Those leprechaun pieces have to be placed in third person. Because in third person you have more flexibility in what movement you are able to do, as well as a slightly increased grab range, you are able to place those pieces slightly inside of purples, slightly off of the ground, etc. And do you have any opinions on third person?
I love third person. Third person is like the ideal way to play this game, in my opinion, but that is a very hot take in the community, apparently. Everyone plays in first person.
You can be wrong, it's okay. Anyways, we'll be moving on to SCSF here, where there's another Easter egg you were able to access through the back. You're able to look at some things, but instead we'll be grabbing a robot and then rewinding our way back. And then you've got the connection over here in order to grab the hexahedron. An interesting thing to know about the hexahedron is that it gives you the ability to stand on surfaces that you normally would not be able to stand on, including this receiver over here. So he's going to stand on top of it, jump off, and then be able to get the robot. And then he's going to rewind to the very beginning. Normally, if you're playing a game, a run where IGT is the main timing method, you would reset checkpoint to go to the very beginning. But because we're doing an RTA run here, we're just going to rewind to the beginning. At the end of Gehenna here, where there's going to be a lot of discussion over a terminal in Chinese for about like the next 30 seconds or so. So I'm going to leave it open to Jaidlyn to give us some donations or otherwise.
I would love to give you a donation, $10 from Perk. Hello from the crowd. Hi.
Let's go, crowd.
Super excited for a week of great speed runs. Thanks to everyone that helps makes this event happen. Go, Pr0tal, go!
Keep her going.
Great, we've got $25 from Mr. John Talos, a haiku. Woke in a garden. How do these pieces fit? Oh no, the game broke.
Not to jinx us here, but I will say that the game definitely had a UE1 crash while we were testing on stage. So fingers crossed that the game does not break here. But we're on our way to the third campaign here, In the Beginning. In the Beginning is intended to be a prequel that discusses the characters who are building this world. In case you didn't know, Talos is a simulation. And so they're building the simulation that's being put together here from like game engine parts that are from Pr0tal, but the version of Pr0tal in this universe. There's a whole bunch of complicated lore associated with that. But the most interesting thing to note is that these were built by mappers who made custom maps back in the day, back in 2014, just for the fun of it on the Steam Workshop. So these people know a little bit more about like what speedrunners do. For example, there's a series of maps that exist exist in the original game where they call us out for using item pick down and put up jumps and so on and so forth. Very silly. But they're onto us a little bit more, so we had to put a lot more work into being able to maneuver through here. So for example, there's a very, very slight gap.
So tiny.
There's no real reason for that purple barrier to be there otherwise. It only exists there to block just in case we were to, say, break out a jammer in this particular instance. They just barely missed the mark in terms of being able to stop us from doing that. And then from here, we'll be grabbing the cube in order to access the rest of these levels here.
One other thing you can note is that all of these walls are particularly high on purpose. It's kind of the game developer's way of saying, there's no way you're going to break into this. We are clearly about to do that.
Well, it's to prevent people who are more on the...
True.
Not us. We're gonna get past anything. Anyways, he's going to suppress a guided jump to make it over this particular jump here. He has to do this kind of tight circle jump here. So there he goes. All right, makes it through. Very good. And then he collects the sigil here, and then he's going to make it past this level here. This is constructed in a mind-blowing sort of way where there's literally a moat that prevents you from making it to the level past here. It's called Daydream. It's a particularly difficult level to actually do. We are going to employ everything that we can to get past it. Normally, you're supposed to use this subway to get past a series of turrets.
Nope.
It's wild. We're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to navigate past these rocks. Some very precise jumps. The last difficult one being just about here, and he's made it very good. And so now he's going to navigate around the back of Daydream, where there exists a very convenient invisible wall that we can set this cube on top of, and we'll be able to jump in for the sigil.
A bit of a precise placement coming up. This cube can do a bit of sliding if you don't get it right in the right spot. Very nice job.
Very good, very good. And then he's going to do a bunch of rewinding to make it back. As we've noted before, the rewinds are usually intended in order to make our way back onto the wall for what we're doing, but it also allows us to go pretty much all the way back, 28 seconds, 32 seconds, increments of 4 seconds like that. We'll be doing this last level here. Normally, if you're doing a run where you start with ITB, you would not need to use a cube here. It's a very precise series of jumps to do so, but because we're working with marathon strats, we're going to use... Try again. There you go.
Nice.
Yeah, that
very
jump
tight
there,
jump.
very silly. But that'll be it for this first section here. None of these are named because, again, the assumption is that this is still in the beta development stage of everything. So it's just there's section and section and section. So once we get to this Roman area here, we're going to be making our way to yet another level in order to break some mechanics out. So first we're going to start out with the jammer. The jammer is going to be crucial in order to break a stable citadel, which is a Fort Noxian sort of construction that we'll get to when we get there. And then after that, we'll be using a cube to get through the rest of this. So while we're making our way through getting these, I think we're open for another donation.
I think so.
That's a good time.
Well, great, because I have so many donations coming in for this run. We've got $10 from No Shield Dues that says, longtime viewer, first-time donator, had to donate during one of my favorite puzzle games. Well, thank you so much for that first-time donation. We certainly appreciate it. And also, we've got $25 from Melissa that says, so excited to see one of my favorite games played completely as intended.
Yeah, this is how everyone played it the first time they played it, right? Just
guys,
not solving a single puzzle.
It depends who you ask.
Right.
Yeah, so this is the most probably difficult part of this entire section is this jump. You're not supposed to be able to stand on this post and it shows, but he got a second try, very good there.
Beautiful.
He'll be using the jammer to break out a series of mechanics. Yeah, absolutely. Let's give it up for 8 a.m. Yeah. So he used the jammer to jam the barrier that's up at the top there. Normally you're supposed to get a series of lasers there, but because the jammer can jam anything that you please, we're able to make it up here. And something to note, these fans normally blow you a little bit higher than the ledge, so it takes a while to get off the fan and then fall down to the ledge. So there's a minor optimization that he uses where he actually comes in closer to the wall so that he can pop off the fan just that little bit.
Like you're avoiding almost like a guided jump kind of. You're
almost,
kind of hitting it at the side, yeah.
Right. But now we've got the last series of these puzzles to do with the cube here. So we're going to first start with this out-of-place Egyptian-themed level that exists here. There's bug reports that exist that talk about whether or not there should be Egyptian theme, so on and so forth. There's some very precise parkour here where he's navigating along some slippery walls. Very good, very good.
This is one of the coolest levels. Can we describe this upcoming level coming up, Gelly?
Which one? Asynchrony?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So while he does this one, asynchrony is a level that's designed to, using a recording, have the ability to have 2 cubes in the air at once. They actually added some mechanics to the recording where you're like able to pause it at particular instances. And so there's this fan that goes back and forth with this cube, and it's locked up tight. It's very difficult to be able to make it in there.
It's very tough.
So he's going to have to make his way either through the level intended, hilarious, or he's going to make it past the grate that opens at the end. When you finish any of these puzzles, the grate that comes down here. So he's actually going to switch to third person because yet again, he needs some pretty precise positioning in order to place the cube where he wants. And he's gonna grab the cube here.
See if we can get it. Here we go. Once we grab this. So we'll be grabbing the cube midair. We'll be placing it midair as well. We're gonna try to hop over this. Let's see if we can get it.
First try.
Wow.
Very good. All right.
Fantastic.
No, incredibly precise. If you, in the split second that exists there, when you drop the cube, it falls slightly faster than you do. And so it actually clips underneath you and gives you just enough ground to run off. So incredibly precise. The fact that he managed to get a first try is incredible.
Very, very
And
awesome.
then from there, as you saw, he was able to pick up an item on the same frame that he was climbing a ladder, make the item come with him on the other side. Normally, we don't usually have to do that because if you can get on the wall, who cares whether or not you get an item to a different section.
Right.
But in that particular example, it's very difficult to get on top of the walls. Again, because ITB is constructed in this way.
And so now we're heading to our third area, our desert area. This is the final area in the final section of this run. Would you like to begin up with our first level here?
Yeah, sure. So this first level, normally you're intended to navigate through it and get 4 different cubes onto 4 different pressure plates in order to open a single barrier. But these rocks back here are just so that you're able to climb on them very precisely. Very good.
Nice.
And then he jumps over here and then he gets the sigil from here. And he'll use this as a baseline in order to navigate this jammer through to the rest of these levels here. Unfortunately, most of these levels are just grab a jammer, use it to jam, rewind. So we'll leave it open during this walking time to get a couple more donations in.
I would love to give you a couple of more donations, like this $100 from Cas GT. Thank you so much. No comment, but we certainly appreciate it very much.
Awesome.
We also have $30 from Florian that says, love you all for what you're doing all those years, all those GDQ. I love you, and we love you back. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Disregard the soccer balls falling from the sky. They have no importance to the run.
Disregard the footballs if you're European. Anyways, as we go through here, it's a stupid joke. We'll be using the cube in order to, again, there's a slight lip here that's just enough in order to make it onto these walls here. He makes a curve jump around here, so not trivial, but makes his way over there. Very good.
Very
and
nice.
then once he gets the sigil here, he's going to rewind with the jammer to use it one last time for this puzzle over here. This puzzle, very interesting in that you're supposed to navigate the cube up to the very top, but instead we're going to jam it. We're going to take the place of the cube, and we're going to use this slight little lip in order to place a cube there. Very good.
Nice.
He's going to suppress a guided jump here, right?
Yep.
In order to jump backwards instead of jumping on top of the
so
cube
cool.
there. And then here he's going to body block a laser so that the fence doesn't come up until he needs it to. And then once he's on top of the fence, he will just come up with it. And that's the final puzzle there. And
that's all of our sigils for the game.
Yep.
So all of those little icons that we were collecting, all the tetrominoes we were collecting, we're now completed, and we're heading out to our final gates.
Yep. There's 3 blast doors that exist here where he's going to solve the Tetronomos puzzles on top of them. And then because the blast doors open so slowly, it's actually more efficient to reset checkpoint at the beginning of them. And then he's going to do a slight climb up the tower. It'll take him about 30 seconds to get to the top, and then he's going to access the terminal, and that'll be the end of the run. So I feel like more is an appropriate time for us to give some shout outs. I'd like to shout out the Talos community, folks like Apple and Darkhead, who are very instrumental in making sure that Talos Reawakened has its leaderboard put together, and to all the runners, especially Pr0tal. Thank you very much, Pr0tal, for being able to do this within the short amount of time on a second submission schedule to do this so well.
Yeah.
Bobby, any shout outs?
Yeah, shout outs for me. Big shout out to Devolver Digital. So many team members there care so deeply about the communities for their games, and it just really makes the difference. So huge shout out to the whole Devolver team, as well as, again, Pr0tal for having us today. So thank you so much.
I'd like to give a shout out to El Corgus. You know who you are.
Al Corgus.
He knows what's up.
All right, time is coming up here a little bit short, maybe like 10, 20 seconds. Not
Right
even
now.
shorter.
Like 5
or like
Time.
1 second.
Time. There
we
it
go.
is. All right.
There we go. Congratulations. That was a great run. Wow.
Yeah, it was very good. 23 times.
Wow.
23?
Yes, sir.
Wow. Flew past that.
Yeah, so that's it from me. Anything left for you to say,
No,
Bobby?
I think I'm all good on shout-outs. I think we shouted everyone out to Pr0tal. Any big shout-outs end of the run?
Shout out to my partner for supporting me through this.
Heck yeah. I think that's it from us. Thank you very much, GDQ.
Thank you so much for having us. Appreciate it. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.